we're still talking about the Trump cabinet. And Mo, you just wrote a piece in the American Prospect about Donald Trump's cabinet picks. I'm going to affectionately call
Gang
it
of rapists.
The Doris Kearns Goodwin book, Team of Rapists. Because, in addition to their dog-like loyalty to Donald Trump, it seems like even among the lesser-known nominees, it seems like sexual assault charges or worse seems to be a common denominator among all of them. But I want to begin with Matt Gaetz, because he has withdrawn his nominee now. After resigning from Congress to be Attorney General, he's now withdrawn his nomination and is going to be replaced by this woman, Pam Bondi. Mo, who I know you know about, and I'd like to talk about Pam Bondi. But I just like to talk about Gaetz for a second. I think we got to begin with Gaetz. And I will certainly say, under no circumstances do you have to hand it to him. However, he has ensured that every Venmo transaction I make from now until I die, the subject line will be being awesome.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's funny to be like a soy groomer.
I mean,
oh my God, you're 17? Ah.
The thing about Gaetz is that, so obviously Gaetz has a lot of like fans, people who are like, well, he's really good on antitrust. But it does seem like among all of these dudes, like he's sort of the least rapey, or I would his sexual assault or his alleged sexual assaults are maybe the most consensual.
Jesus Christ.
So there's that, and also the intrigue surrounding the investigation is so insane that there's one of my sources is this like antitrust. She's this anti-Ticketmaster activist, and she's also part of she was one of the most intense factions of the like Free Britney movement, which also Matt Gaetz is a part of. And there's a lot of people who think that he was sort of just wound up by this honeypot tax collector.
Yeah, Joel Greenberg. It is a weird story. Like, it's sort of like Russiagate, where it's like it wouldn't surprise me if they like did Russia stuff. Just like I wouldn't be surprised if Matt Gaetz like did like groom a fucking 17-year-old. But at the same time, there's so much like weird shit around it. Like the prevailing theory that I've seen on sort of like the not MAGA, but sort of like center-right parapolitics people is that this was an attempt to like raise money to pay for an operation to like rescue an American spy in Iran.
Yes, who had been left out of a hostage deal that accompanied the Iran nuclear deal. And the Israelis were really mad about it for some reason, and they decided to like leak it to the Dilbert dude. Like it is so epic. I mean, it's kind of incomprehensible. But important to note that also Greenberg, who's currently in prison for sex trafficking and making fake driver's licenses and sending fake letters to a public school teacher who primaried him from allegedly from kids that he'd molested, that he left his fingerprints all over. So that guy, his family owns a massive chain of dental clinics that don't. So this is Florida. I'm just telling you, it all always comes back to some kind of Medicare fraud, or in that case, it's usually Medicaid fraud. They're usually doing pediatric dentistry, like doing root canals on like 2-year-olds.
What?
That's a thing.
That's a huge thing. Like, there was another chain. This wasn't in Florida. I think this was actually like a national chain where their thing was like Medicaid dentistry, and they would do all these horrible procedures to kids. And because you're giving like a 5-year-old a fucking root canal, they had these like full body sleeves that they would fucking put kids in so they would stop squirming when they were like torturing them.
They're called papoose. They're literally called papoose boards. Yes, this was Cool Smiles and also Small Smiles. There were two two chains that had a lot of the same founders, both private equity backed.
That is such a sinister name.
Well, I think Matt Gaetz should be put in a papoose board. Keep his fingers away from the phone. But Mo, what do we know of the circumstances that led up to Matt Gaetz withdrawing his nomination to be Attorney General? Because like everyone is speculating about the contents of this House ethics report that's out there about him. But like, I mean, I've seen other people speculate that like Trump nominated Matt Gaetz as like an intentionally ridiculous and like it was like a sort of a sacrificial lamb essentially to get over his more egregious Pam Bondi. Like, what do you make of is this 4D chess going on? Do you have any idea of what's in this ethics report? And like, what exactly is alleged about Matt Gaetz here? Because I've heard a lot of things.
Okay, so what is alleged about Matt Gaetz is that he had sex at a party with a 17-year-old. And I think everyone kind of agrees that happened, but he didn't know she was 17 because she had a fake ID procured for her by his friend Joel Greenberg. And kind of everyone says that he cut off relations with her. She was in high school until she turned 18, which is really classy. I'm sure you can agree. And then when she turned 18, then he started, buying things for her, sending her Venmo payments again. No, he didn't actually Venmo her, but Greenberg did. So that is something that, like, I don't know if Matt Gaetz claims that he didn't or has like nothing to say about that. But I think that's the thing is that, like, I think that most of the girls who testified against him say that he didn't know that she was 17 when it happened. So yeah, he's sent a lot of he's sent thousands of dollars via Venmo to very young girls, but all of the ones that we know about were 18 or 19 or maybe even 20. Now, it's one thing that's interesting about this is, like, well, I don't know, this is just really random, but when I waited tables, I waited on Matt Gaetz, and he was I carded his the woman that he was with, and it said she was like 31. So, maybe she was a beard. I'm not sure. He was by far like the least. I didn't know who he was. Somebody was like, that's Matt Gaetz, and I'm like, oh, whatever. Like this was back in 2018, so I wasn't up on any Russiagate or anything like that. But yeah, I think that, there is some intrigue. They were trying to rat fuck Matt Gaetz, but it's also possible. I think that when Matt Gaetz discovered that he was sort of under investigation, he decided to like start supporting Lena Khan and, and Britney Spears and sort of he started to take some, and Julian Assange. He started to take positions that might make him look like he was some sort of, that he was being rat fucked. So, he's a pro, and I hope that he, becomes governor of Florida. Pam Bondi is way worse. Like, there's no doubt about that. But I don't think that Trump cares. I think that the Gaetz nomination was, like, it's hard to think that it wasn't a ploy to distract from all the other sexual assaults. But again, I don't think that people are really distracted. I mean, the Pete Hegseth rape has captivated a lot of newspaper journalists, and I guess they haven't really focused on any of the Vince McMahon stuff.
Yeah,
I had totally like somehow like this is you talk about like Hegseth and Gaetz. It has flown under the radar that Linda McMahon is the nominee to be Secretary of Education. I mean, if we still have an education department in another 4 years, that'll be one thing. But like Linda McMahon, wife of Vince McMahon, and like the sex trafficking and rape allegations swirling around the World Wrestling Entertainment Association are fairly blood-curdling as well.
They are IDF caliber. They are really, really, really disgusting. And yeah, this poor woman that worked for him, and this is not stuff that happened a really long time ago. It's like 3 years ago. Like, I worked for Vince McMahon, and he made me have sex with him in his office, and then he shit on my head, and then he wouldn't let me wash it off, and he made me have sex while I was like drowning in shit with his like friend while he watched. It's just absolutely putrid stuff, and it does make you think like, obviously, this was Vince and it wasn't Linda, but she has been, all of these years, very much, enabling this behavior, covering it up. And she's still fucking married to him. They're separated, but and then there's RFK, who I don't even think that anybody.
The example that you use in your article is that I completely forgotten about this in the crush of other quote unquote allegations. Like I like filling out a cabinet with people who every one of their Wikipedia page has an allegation subhead.
The official theme song for this cabinet should be Clips, Mr. Me Too.
But you said that a former nanny of his alleged that he groped her, and when confronted with that accusation, his defense was, quote, "I had a very rambunctious childhood." And you mentioned that he was 46 at the time that he supposedly groped this woman.
I mean, to his defense is he had a very, very rambunctious youth. But yeah, it was in the pantry, and he starts like feeling her up, and and he had 5 kids at the time. That was just, and I think that the way that he said, I mean, it's an interesting ploy. He said many times, "There's so many skeletons in my closet," like, whale
Literally.
skeletons,
Yeah.
tiger skeleton, but
goddamn Museum of Natural History over at his fucking house in Hyannisport or whatever.
Seriously, I feel like because he said that, nobody's even bothered trying to keep track of all of the accusations. So there's this one woman who's come out, and she was his nanny, but she was also like a legal assistant, and just absolutely revolting behavior. But he cheated on one of his wives so much that she killed herself, I think, and
name checked him in the suicide note as well.
Right, and then there's what's her face, Nuzzy, who apparently was the aggressor in that relationship. But it's just a real. It's like, again, he's so scummy that like nobody's even bothered to tabulate all of the cases. So it's really, Trump's really making, and one thing that I also think is weird, he didn't try to stagger these picks. Like, he could have gone with the gay Soros dude. He could have gone with, Chavez DeReamer. She runs some ketamine clinics, but apparently she co-sponsored the PRO Act. He's had, since all the rapists were named, he's had some more, well-rounded candidates.
Yeah.
Candidates who don't have the allegation subhead on Wikipedia.
Yeah, it's the way he's doing it. My sister said that Trump's favorite thing to do is to take a bunch of hogs to market and watch them get slaughtered. And I feel like that's part of the strategy. Like, that's the rationale behind the Gates pick, 100%.
Yeah, that's
that much is clear. But what he'll do, the first day of announcements, it was okay, this is what Jeb Bush's cabinet would be. And then the next day, it's here is everyone who has ever been accused of grooming a 16-year-old. And then the next day, it's
Dr. Oz,
fucking Soros, someone who would have been Hillary Clinton's Treasury Secretary, probably.
You touch on this in the piece you wrote for the American Prospect, but when you see the breadth of, shall we say, allegations swirling around the Trump cabinet, do you regard this as basically just a incidental side effect of just the people who Trump would nominate to high positions in his government, is just this is the well he's drawing from? Or do you see this as sort of a broader and conscious sort of strategy of cultural realignment, of sort of putting Me Too back in the box and just saying, kind of letting it be known that they're this is the way things are done. when you're a powerful man. Because like you mentioned in the piece, like there's a brief moment when we seem to like crack open the window to reveal that like every major American institution, be it Hollywood, the music industry, USA Gymnastics, but like the fashion industry, just down the list is just a factory of exploitation and rape. And like, is this a conscious strategy to just close the door on that and be like, not just close the door and deny it, but close the door on it and be like, that's the way things are? Or is this just, like I said, like incidental to the figures that swirl around Donald Trump and the Republican Party?
It definitely felt to me when I read it, I kept thinking of that annoying line, the cruelty is the point, you know? But the thing is that with Me Too is that, you know, you can, whatever, comedians can complain about getting canceled or whatever, but even the right absolutely understands that these networks of organized sex abuse sort of run the world. And they're very interested in how those networks work and exposing them. And so that's, I think, another reason that all of these picks and announcing them like all in one fell swoop just seems like such a like gut punch in a certain way. Like it had these real, you know, 2004, 2005 vibes. And I just felt, especially the Hegseth pick. And so that's kind of what I was trying to comment on is like, you know, what, like, and yet I feel like the resistance is sort of, you know, powerless to even make that point because, you know, they're the party of genocide. And that's what they've been doing all year. And they have been, and the rapiest people the universe has ever known. I don't know if that's actually true. But in my lifetime, you know, the Democratic Party has been enabling that and funding it. And that's kind of, you know, why it seems so, there's been so many things over the past year, you know, through the billionaire boycotts and the, you know, the anti-Semitism hysteria and the like, you know, group chats and all of the oligarchs have been sort of conspiring in plain sight for the past year to perpetrate atrocities. And this just seems like part of that, you know, like we're back, you know.